Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah. I like to talk about intuitive messages, and I am someone who astro travels and I love to document my experiences. And I am an energy healer. And so today I had an experience, and it's so ironic because today is the 7/7 portal. Honestly, it has just been so amazing so far. I feel so grateful with all these blessings that keep happening. So I just want to talk about my experience today with my out of body experience. This morning, I'm not sure what time it started to happen, but I wrote it down in my notes and I want to read it from what I wrote down because I know every time I speak it out loud, there's some details that I forget to mention because my memory is just not the best when it comes to recalling things in general. So I want to make sure I say everything that I wrote down because I would like to keep this as my journal for the future. And so also keep in mind that I did not make an intention tonight. I usually make intentions to astral project or have an out of body experience, but this time it was just a regular day. I was dreaming and then this happened. So let's get started. All right. So I woke up around 6:45 a.m. and I decided to write everything down because I didn't want to forget. So this is how it went. I didn't even make the intention to get out of my body that night. It just happened naturally. I was sleeping on my stomach when I felt like I wanted to move, but my body felt extremely heavy. At first, I thought I was trying to move my physical body, but then I realized it felt different. As I tried to move, I slowly began separating my body. That's when I realized, oh my gosh, I just got out of my body. Immediately, I snapped back into my body because I felt this incredibly strong magnetic force pulling me back in. It honestly felt like I was attached to my body by a magnet. That's like the best way that I can describe the feeling of when you're getting out and you're too close to your body. It feels like there's a magnetic force trying to take you back in. And if you don't get out fast enough or like at least leave your room and go somewhere else, you will be pulled back. This also happens whenever you have any sort of emotions or excitement or fear, you get sucked back in. To me, at least, it happens many different ways. There's times that I am automatically like in a whole different out of body experience without having to go through the process of getting up from my body. But this time around, it just so happened that I was laying on my stomach. I was just having a regular dream and I felt super uncomfortable. And I felt like, you know what, let me move my arm, reposition myself. And when I did that, I started to feel like really heavy and like I went like this and then like this and then whoof, I went up into the ceiling of my room and I saw my body. When I looked down, I had my sheets over, I had my hair bonnet on. It was just so incredible. And then I went back in. And so then I thought, no, I'm going to just do it again. So I intentionally let myself separate a second time. I felt like I was pulling myself away from a powerful magnet force. It just felt so heavy and like just the same way of like when you're putting two magnets together and it's like a little bit stronger than that. It just felt like I something was sucking me back in, but I really wanted to get out. So like I forced myself to get out. And that doesn't always happen. It's just very easy to just boom, get up from your bed. But I don't know. I really don't know why that happened last night the way it did. This feeling wasn't completely new to me. I have experienced something similar before, but it just felt much stronger this time. It also reminded me of a sleep paralysis experience that I always used to have. I used to just always have sleep paralysis almost every single day from when I was 14 years old and now I'm 30. So I just finally figured out that sleep paralysis is something that is basically a gateway to astral projecting or astral projection. But if you have fear, you tend to, at least for me, I was creating like low vibrational things happening to me, like demonic things were coming in and attacking me, and just everything that I believed was happening to me during the sleep paralysis at the time. Anyways, going back into the story. So I knew the magnetic pool would keep bringing me back into my body. So I imagined myself walking toward my bedroom door instead of focusing on my body. I visualized opening the door and leaving my room immediately so I wouldn't get back. There's a small detail that I don't think I wrote down was that when I was getting out of my body, I experienced that darkness. It's like a transition from darkness, like you can't see anything. And then it slowly like was turning gray. And then I could feel everything around me, but when I was thinking of the door, I couldn't see it. And it's not always like this. There's times that I immediately get up and I see everything. But in that moment, it just felt like everything was going slower than usual. So I don't know why. But actually just came to me that maybe because I haven't practiced it in maybe like a couple weeks, or it's been less than a couple weeks, but I think I've been doing an intention to stay grounded lately, to conserve my energy. And I have visualized and done a lot of like um, locking my portals that I've opened when I astral project. So like, I don't know, something happened that I activated and opened a portal last night spontaneously. Anyways, as I got out of my body and I was in that transition of getting out and I couldn't see anything, that's when I opened the door without seeing anything. And when I got out of the door, I wrote this down. Um, one thing I noticed was that my vision worked during the transition. At first everything was completely dark, then it slowly turned gray before I could finally begin seeing again clearly. Even before I could fully see, I saw him manifest in my bedroom door in front of me and I could physically touch it. By the time I reached the kitchen and living room, my vision was still blurry and gray, but it slowly improved. I remember Oh, I wrote it down. I remembered hearing before that, like in real life, in videos, I have seen people talk about this where looking at your hands could help stabilize an astral projection. So I kept looking at my hands while repeating clarity, clarity, clarity. You can also say awareness. I know saying clarity, 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 awareness to bring my conscious back, I believe. And things started to clear up and the lights, everything was just getting brighter and colorful again. And there's one thing I think I forgot to mention is that my hands looks pretty much like how they look now, but there was a moment where like I saw them together, which I don't understand what that meant. Sorry, my cat. Alani, can you please get down, please? I love you. So yeah, I don't know if both of my hands had like fingers attached and then some was separated. It was a weird, I don't know, but I think I had 5 fingers or six. I can't remember exactly, but I feel like I must have had 5 or 6 fingers. And I've heard this before that can happen. And so I started saying that every few seconds and my vision became clear. And I did that through how the entire experience, I kept mentioning clarity to me to keep my experience in there longer. That's another tip. So also I decided to go into the bathroom to look at myself in the mirror. When I looked at myself, I looked slightly different. I think I looked a little shorter. I didn't stare for very long because I still felt that magnetic pull coming from my bedroom. And since the bathroom is right next to my room, I didn't want to risk being pulled back into my body, which was really interesting. I only looked at myself like very slightly, and I kind of like, it's like I recognized myself, but I didn't look the same. And also it was grayscale, so like it was dark and not in color yet. It just looked like nighttime. That's the best way I can describe it, with the lights off. And then I left and went back into the living room. The overall layout of my apartment looked very similar to mine in my physical life. The structure of the rooms felt familiar, but the furniture, kitchen, cabinets, refrigerator, and many other details were completely different. They were just in different order as well, and just different furniture in general. At that point, I thought, oh my God, let me see who my spirit guides are. So then I remember looking around. It was still dark, and I was looking for one of my cats because I tend to always see my cats in my out of body experiences. And so I saw one of my cats, Alani, and it was interesting because everything seemed to change as time passed. That as well. Like I noticed there were multiple things in here, and then just more things were added, and I don't know. So I started talking to her, and I was asking her, Alani, talk to me. Can you talk to me? Because I've always wondered if you can talk to your animals and actually hear their voice. I haven't tried that in the past, and I wanted to try that. I remembered that I've been wanting to do that. So I decided to talk to my cat and ask her if she can hear me and if she can talk to me back in English. And at first, she seemed to ignore me. Like, she wasn't saying anything. But after a while, maybe like a few seconds later, she actually responded, and she was talking to me without moving her mouth. So I think it was telepathically. She was communicating with me, and it just sounded like a regular voice out loud. It didn't feel like it was in my head. It didn't feel like it was my own voice or anything like that. And oh, she's right here. She's so cute. It's like she's listening to what I'm saying. Let me grab her. I'm sorry, Mama, but I just wanted. So I got her on camera, and I wasn't recording, but my other cat is here. And I don't want to like bother her. She kind of ran away. So, anyways. So I asked her if she can talk to me. And at first she seemed to ignore me, but after a while she actually responded. She said something about her family being killed and that she was a survivor. She said it in her own way, in her own words. I can't remember the exact words, but that's the overall message that I received from her. And or something along those lines. I couldn't completely understand what she meant, but I understood that. Like I understood that she was saying something about her past, or because it's interesting. I didn't ask her about that, but I've always wondered where she came from and like what happened and why she's so anxious and scared of people in general. She's very terrified. She always hides. And whenever someone comes in, or like if she hears a voice of someone else, she only can trust me. And even with me, sometimes she gets scared if I act a little too out of a sudden, kind of like, I guess, yeah. If I just approach her wrong or something, she can get a little scared. And that's my other cat right over here. And so, yeah, maybe she decided to say that because I've always wondered that. I really don't know why she just like, that's the first thing that she said when I asked her to talk to me. But after that, like nothing else. I don't think we talked about anything else. I just seemed to, I think at that moment, let me see what I wrote down. Yeah, then Leah appeared. My second cat came in. Oh, yeah. And they were both eating a lot of food. Like it was just like human food and stuff that I don't really feed them. And I got like worried and I said, oh my gosh, you guys are going to get sick. Don't eat so much. But then, I think my third cat, Remy, appeared out of nowhere. This happened. So I was actually here. This was all happening here. My cats were by the stairs and all the way down across over there. You can't really see it, but my room is all the way back there. And next to the bathroom, the door was open and this lady started to come out of my room. And this is where my senses, my human senses started to kick in and I got a little scared. And I was like, I immediately just started saying, show yourself, show me who you really are. Are you coming from the light? Because it was still dark and I couldn't see her. I just knew that it was a female. And I also said, are you coming from God? And I also said, are you coming from Jesus Christ? I don't remember what she answered, but after responding, she walked closer to me. She just kept coming closer and closer. She was saying something, but I couldn't hear her, especially because I think I was getting like agitated or like scared and I was speaking out loud like, "Hey, show me who you are. I don't want you to be some demonic thing because of my past experiences, of course." Um, whoa. And she came closer and she touched my hands. Like she reached out to me and grabbed my hands. And this feeling was unlike anything I can explain. It felt like something I have experienced in the past. I have felt her energy in the past touch me while I was sleeping because I have felt that same sensation. I don't know what it is, but I've always been scared of that feeling because it always would be something bad. Like I would create a bad situation, I guess is the best way I can say it. Like the energy felt like when her hands were cold and I just felt like I don't know if it's like a shock in my body. Something happened that I just didn't like it. I was so scared. And I don't know what it is, but I have to say it, right? And at first it scared me, but after a moment, all the fear disappeared. She wasn't threatening in any way. I think I was simply startled because I didn't know who she was. Once she let go of my hands, I felt completely normal again, and she simply continued talking. After that, I continued repeating, clarity, clarity, while looking at my hands to stabilize my vision. It worked surprisingly well. I remember thinking that so much had happened already that it felt like a very long time had passed. Then I wondered what time it actually was back in the physical world because it still felt like there was so much left to experience. But at the same time I kept feeling like it was going to end for some reason because that's just what happens. Like it doesn't always last so long. And I think the best tip that I can get, that I can actually say that worked for me, was like just constantly looking at my hands and saying clarity, awareness, just to stay grounded in that experience. And I think I wrote that down. That then I continued looking around, repeating clarity, clarity, while looking at my hands. Every time I did, my vision became a little clearer, and then I noticed I was able to stay there longer. It was actually working. As I walked around, I remember noticing the moon outside. Oh yeah, I was standing by here, and like I have big windows, and I remember looking outside. It didn't look like my neighborhood at all. If anything, it looked like there were hills and there were houses on top of the hills. It's just a lot of houses. It looked like Europe. That's the best way I can explain it. I live in Florida. It's super flat. There's no houses. There's on no hills. We do not have mountains. Okay, so I know that I wasn't making up what I'm about to say next. So I looked at the moon. I saw the sun, and it was bright outside. And the sun was extremely bright, and by this point, the colors had become much more vivid. Um, I decided to ask about something I had always wondered. And before this, I almost forgot. I think I didn't write it down, but by this time, a second person came into my room, into my living room, and it was a man, and he was white. And I can't describe what he looked like, but I think either he had very short hair or he was bald. And the lady, she looked, I don't know, like very racially ambiguous, but I know she was a little tan. She wasn't pale. But the other guy wasn't too pale. He was just white. If I had to say racially, he looked like a Caucasian person. And then I asked, when I first get out of my body, everything starts out dark, then it turns gray, and eventually the colors come in. Is that normal? And I also said, are we the ones bringing in the light to this place, or is that the sun? Is that sun actually there? Is it real? And they said, yes, that's normal. And they explained that it was the actual sun. The sun is actually there. But the woman immediately also said, oh, it's because we're in Dubai. And I was a little confused. That's when I realized, oh my God, where could I be right now? It hadn't even crossed my mind to even think that I could be somewhere else, not my house. Even though the surroundings felt familiar, the outside of this place clearly was not the same. And then when she said that, the man corrected her and said, no, we're actually in Barcelona right now, which I have been to Barcelona a couple years back, but I've never been to Dubai. And then I remember thinking how interesting it was because I hadn't asked where we were. They were just naturally talking to each other and giving me information without me even asking. It made me wonder if we were actually in those places or if those places were somehow manifested. I didn't understand it, but I wanted to ask more questions later if I ever returned. While I continued exploring, I noticed Remy. And it was strange because he started to look a little different. At one point, it almost looked like he had an outfit on, like a Christmas outfit on, and he looked a little bit chubbier and maybe like a little bit of longer hair. So I asked about my cats. I asked if they were astral projecting too. I wondered if these were the same cats I have in here in the physical world. The answer they gave was kind of like a both yes and no. The way I understood it, it was that they are always there anyway. It's not like they have to leave their bodies the way we do. They already exist there, so they don't have to consciously project the way humans do. And I totally can understand what that means because I have seen humans and I have seen myself be having an out of body experience without having to go through the whole situation of getting out of your body. And then now I know I'm astral projecting and I'm having this experience or I'm going somewhere else. There's times that I just like, if I'm in a lucid dream or I had made the intention, it just happens. And then I know, oh, this is an astral projection moment right now. It's not lucid dreaming. There's a difference. You would just know. You're going to know the difference. If you're used to both of them, you know the difference. So yeah, that was really interesting. Basically, by them telling me that, I realized, oh, I think I understand. Like we also do that. We are always in a different location. Like we're all in everywhere at the same time. That's why they say God is omnipresent. Like I think that's what it means to me. We are in different dimensions, in parallel lives, in different timelines. Like we're all in many places at the same time. It's just about doing it consciously that makes it an astral projection or an out of body experience. And I'm gonna say, and I'm saying this because of what he says next. I kept walking around and asking more questions, looking at everything with curiosity. At some point, I noticed a cabinet with what looked like little gifts inside. One of them had my name on it. What he said next, I guess it's gonna come up later. If it doesn't, I'm gonna say it. It wasn't spelled exactly the same, but it was clearly my name. I think it had a few extra letters, but I immediately knew it belonged to me. I opened it. Inside was, and it was like a paper bag, brown paper bag. Inside of it was filled with something that looked like colorful powder, like sand consistency, and it was glittery, and it was like different colors in it. It smelled really good. I don't know why I smelled it. I thought it was one of those things that kind of like a candle where like it could be scented or used for something like that. I really don't know what it was, to be honest. And I remember the lady being next to me, watching me like go through the cabinet and stuff. I remember looking at it and thinking, I don't know what this is. After looking at it for a moment, I carefully put it back where I found it. So I noticed there were several oracle decks next to it. And I picked one up and I decided to ask the woman a question. I said, am I using oracle cards in the 3D? Is that okay? Is there anything bad about using them? And her response really was just, oh, they're kind of expensive. And she walked off and she kept talking to something or someone that was here. Because that's the thing. I just noticed they kept talking and I don't think they were always talking to me. They were talking to someone else here, whether it were my cats maybe or other people or something that I didn't see. I don't know. It sounds very confusing. And I remember looking at the price and it said $29.99. I remember thinking they're actually not that expensive. That's about the same price that I pay for my Oracle cards in real life or in the physical world. Um, she didn't say anything else about them. She just walked away and continued talking. I couldn't tell who she was talking to. I don't really remember seeing other people clearly, but it felt like there were others present. I'm not sure if they were there or if she was talking to someone I couldn't see. Then I suddenly realized something. Oh my God, I never asked who these people are. I turned to the woman and I asked her, "Are you my spirit guide?" But I don't think she heard me. Like she was kind of like in her own moment of talking to someone or something, and she just didn't hear me or and didn't respond. So I was like, oh, okay, let me just go to the man. And I asked him, "Who are you? Are you my spirit guide?" He looked at me and answered very naturally, very nonchalant, and said, "Yeah, of course, we made you." The moment he said that, something clicked inside of me. I immediately asked, "Wait, are you my dad?" He smiled and answered, "Yeah, I am." I became emotional. I had been curious the entire experience, asking questions and exploring everything around me, but this was the first moment that I actually felt emotion. And then I asked him, "Can I give you a hug?" And he said something, so I don't think he had heard me. And I was like, "Wait, can I give you a hug?" But before that, actually, before I asked, "Can I give you a hug?" I said, "But why do we look different? You look white." And he kind of laughed at my question. I know it sounded very silly, but I'm so glad I asked because the way he just like laughed at it, and then he said the way he explained it, it wasn't about race at all. He had said something like, or at least the impression that I got from what he was saying was almost like it's part of the experience or the game. You simply come into life however you come into life. Race wasn't something that mattered there. And I remember trying to process what he meant, but it was difficult to put into words. Then I walked over and hugged him. The moment I wrapped my arms around him, I instantly woke up back inside my physical body. It happened so fast that I barely even felt the hug. It was just so immediate. And the first thought that came through me when I woke up in my body, I was like, oh, I got emotional. And remember how I said that if you just get too emotional, scared, happy, or excited, like that can pull you back into my body? Because I thought, like, what? No, there was more to this. I knew there were more, but I just accepted it. And instead of going back into it, because I realized I can go back in it or write it down. Because it was already morning time, it was like I had it woken up at 6:45 and my alarm was at 8 a.m. I woke up earlier than my alarm. I decided to just take the moment to write everything down and take the time to have a proper breakfast, work out, shower, do my morning routine. And I was so energetic too. Like I had more energy. And I know TMI, but I did get my menstrual cycle last night. So yeah, I'm surprised that even with that, I have this much energy today. And usually some astral projection experiences can get me tired throughout the day, but this one felt so special for some reason. Um, so I also wrote, I don't think the magnetic force is what finally brought me back. I think it was my emotions. The entire experience I had mostly been curious. I wasn't emotional. I was simply observing, asking questions, and exploring. But the second I felt love and emotion while hugging him, I woke up immediately. Looking back now, I wish I had asked so many more questions. One thing that stood out to me was how familiar they acted with me. It was almost as if they already knew me very well. At one point, they even teased me for constantly saying clarity while looking at my hands. Both of them would look at me and be like, why? I remember the lady specifically, she like saw me doing that and she just like laughed at me. She's like, why are you doing that? And I explained that I had watched someone in the physical world say that repeating clarity or awareness helps stabilize an astral projection and lets you stay longer. They basically laughed and accepted my explanation. Then the man started teasing me for something else. Like there was a moment where he was making fun of me, but not in a mean way at all. It was kind of adorable how he was like kind of mocking the way I act when I get out of my body. It almost reminded me of someone acting like a curious little kid who has never seen anything before. And I genuinely thought it was so funny. I remember asking, wait, does that mean you guys see me every time I come here? And the answer I understood was yes. It sounded like I come there much more often than I remember. The impression I got was that I leave my body regularly, but I simply don't remember most of it when I wake up. I feel like that's what he said, but he also, I feel like he was trying to say that I'm always there. And I feel like he said both. Like I'm already always there, but I sometimes consciously remember that I'm doing it. But at the same time, because I'm going in there with my human mind or consciousness mixed with that experience, I'm having amnesia, and it's like every time I do that, I don't remember what's going on. I'm just imagining how that could look like to them, and it's absolutely hilarious. And that thought completely changed the way I think about astral projection. It also made me realize something that felt deeply comforting. I have parents on the other side. The realization stayed with me long after I woke up. It's very interesting. So, yeah, that was my experience. I've been wanting to speak to my spirit guides for so long. I've had experiences before where I spoke to someone who looked more like me, and she said I had asked if she was a spirit guide, and I believe she said yes, and she was like an Andromedan being, but she looked like me, like human wise. And I also question and wonder if the way that we see things are based on our human brain interpreting it in a different way for you to feel safe and easier to understand, versus maybe the real reality looks completely different. It can look so alien to us that we interpret it as an actual like human looking place. And I say human, I mean like earthly. Although it could also look like that. I really don't know. I'm trying to figure that out. And I think the more I have more experiences, I'm going to continue asking questions and making these videos so I can document what's going on and what my experiences have been, because it keeps getting a little bit more interesting, and I think I'm starting to have more access to things. I've been asking to see my spirit guides for so long, and I think throughout these couple weeks that I haven't like consciously astral projected, maybe I just wasn't mentally in the space to do it. And a lot of times I was so tired that I didn't want to force anything to happen. So I never really made the intention. But it just so happened that today on a 7/7 portal, July 7th, 2026, I ended up having an out of body experience that was completely spontaneous, which it still happens once in a while, but the more common one is when I make an intention before I go to sleep. And it's usually when I go to the restroom, go back to my bed, make the intention again. And this is usually in the middle of the night, hours after I actually fell asleep. And after I make the intention, go back into bed, within maybe a few moments, I feel myself having that sensation that I'm about to get out of my body. If you've ever had sleep paralysis, then it's going to be so much easier for you to get out of your body. It's really about the intention and the vibration and how you're feeling and your mental state at the moment. If you put fear, it will not be better for you. It's not going to be a fun experience for you. If you calm down and tell yourself you're safe, you're protected, this is all an illusion, and you remember who you are, like tell yourself who you are, say your name. I think that's what's worked for me, is when I'm able to fully get out. If I ever have a sleep paralysis moment where I feel a little stuck, which kind of did happen today, but I wasn't even thinking that it was like sometimes you forget in the moment. In the moment, I just had forgotten that like I can get out, and it just felt heavy. I'm like, why am I feeling heavy right now? Why can't I fully get out of my, or like why can't I move my body? It was just so quick too. And when I put all that strength out is when I got out and it jumped off into my ceiling. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to say. I just found this experience to be so interesting and fascinating. And I just, more clarity, I guess I can say. It's like I'm still now a little bit like confused on who these people are. Like they confirmed they're my spirit guides, but they also said that they made me. And I feel like I understood why he said that. That's why I didn't ask. It was just annoying that I understood that, okay, maybe we have creators there that make, it's not gonna make sense when I say this, but I feel like someone would understand what I'm saying. I feel like it's gonna sound weird for some of you, but for some of you, know, maybe you know this or you've been through it or you've heard about this, where like our souls are created by other beings. Sometimes I don't know if this is always the case, but it's kind of like what I was feeling. And I want to go back and ask more questions. So if I do, I will make sure to make a video. Anyways, I'm gonna leave it here. Thank you so much for watching. It was a great experience and great talking about it. It was amazing to be able to document this. And if you ever are wondering if you would like to have some oracle reading or guidance or energy healing, I am offering that on my website. So feel free to check that out. And I can't wait to see you guys on my next one. You have a beautiful day today. Don't forget to manifest. 7/7 portal. If you're watching this after the 7/7 portal, that's okay. There's the Lionsgate portal happening next month on August 8th. Anyways, I love you so much. I will see you next time. Bye.